Today's date is October 25th, 2017. Written words. Alright, so I'm looking here at Jeremiah chapter 8 and verse 8. How do ye say we are wise? How do ye say we are wise? And the law of the Most High is with us. Lo, certainly in vain made he it. The pen of the scribes is in vain. And actually, verse 9, the wise men are ashamed, they are dismayed and taken. Lo, they have rejected the word of the Most High, and what wisdom is in them. I've been thinking this week, how smart are Hebrews? Sure, we're happy to have found this Israelite understanding, having left for many of us the Christian church. But in some ways, we approach this whole Israelite Torah business in a religious kind of way, as if it's another one of the religions, and we still treat it like that way too much, probably more than we should. But I guess partly that's because when you deal with spiritual things, people usually tend to go that way. But I've been thinking, we've heard so much about the law says this and the law says that. And it's like we just got to stick to everything that's written there, and we try to put each other down. And a lot of us have so much fear, especially when you are newer. And I dealt with that a lot too, still dealing with some of that. And just this past week or two, I've been learning how to shave off certain things from my thoughts. Because when you deal with just law, and the Christians use this to hit us a lot, as we were taught in the Christian church, oh, the law is evil and the law, it doesn't save and stuff like that. And, you can't keep the law and so on. So, you got that in your mind as well. But the Most High is here saying, you say you are wise. How is it that you're saying that? Why? Because he's looking at them way back when these words were spoken, and he's just asking them to consider this, because he's saying to them, basically, you think you are wise and you say you are wise just because you've got the law with you. But he's getting at something, because the wise people, the intelligent ones, the ruling ones, the upper echelon kind of people, and those who are really running the show, everyone has to look up to and look for direction from them and so on. And it's like, how do you say you are wise? And here he's talking about the people who are leading, the ones who are teaching, as myself, the ones who are running the camps, as some of us do. That's basically in our time what it would be. But back then we know it was dealing with like the scribes and the kings and the priests, those kinds of people. But basically they're more upfront ones, because if he's saying ye are wise, when you look at the chapter, or at least these two verses, Jeremiah 8, verse 8 and 9, it's more dealing with people in leadership, the upfront people. Because the average person wouldn't be considered as being that wise, or they wouldn't be coming to learn from the wise men. So he's looking at the leaders and he's like, you're saying you're wise just because you've got the written word. In other words, you've got the law in your books or in your scrolls, and you have mistaken wisdom and safety for the presence of many books lining your shelves and your understanding of the Torah. But they should have known that just to know the Torah or to know what is written down is not sufficient. That's not what the Most High is asking us to know. He's not asking you to know the Torah left and right in terms of what is written so you know what it says, but rather to know it in your heart so that you will know Him in your heart. That's why he says, how do you say you're wise and the law of the Lord is with us? Like we got all the scrolls here. Does that make you wise? That's what he's trying to ask. And so how smart are Israelites today? Because we feel like if we just know it so well, and we've been doing this for 20, 25 years, we got the drop on this. We can correct anybody, teach anybody, tell anybody, and tell them law, 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 when he's really talking about knowing Him in your heart and not simply knowing what's written on the paper. Because they had all these scrolls with them, they felt they were wise because they were like masters at this thing. They knew it, but they did not know how to live by it. And that was the problem. It was on the pages, but not in their heart. And so he says, in the end, the pen of the scribes is in vain. Because just to know what is written and to write down some more, how can you trust in that knowledge of the Torah, knowledge of the laws, is any salvation to you in and of itself? Because he's trying to tell them your security cannot possibly be in the knowledge of what is written. Because any scribe can come along and change what is written on the pages. So when I look at you and when you look at me, it's not about how much you know or I know. We should more be concerned with, is it in your heart? Is it in your heart, brother? Is it in your heart, sister? Is it in your heart, teacher, more, camp leader? Is it in your heart? Or are you just teaching strong and mighty and traveling everywhere and whatever and busying yourself with what is written and spreading the knowledge of what is written because this is in the law and now you know the law, you left the other religion and now you know the law, you're just going to teach it and spread it. Is that what you're busying yourself with just because you know it? Is the purpose of the written law you teaching? Or is the purpose you living it? But then teaching would just be an outflow of what you are living because you know it in your heart. But then teaching would just be an outflow of what you are living because you know it in your heart. But so many of us have sold out to the enemy. We have sold out to our feelings, to our whimsical feelings and thoughts, to our passions that are so often uncontrolled, unbridled. So many of us have just sold out to the evil that approaches us through circumstances, through testing from the Most High that we're failing sometimes, and have sold out to the ideas of other people who are fighting against us and our own people and fighting against your own soul. But because that which is written is not in your heart, it is just on the pages of the book, and you've read it for so many years that you can teach it like crazy. That you sound like a wise man, you sound like an expert, but you are shamefully deluded. Because in the darkness of the night, in the quietness of your still times, and in moments when no one speaks to you, you know you live a shameful life, making a mockery of that which you say is Torah. And you have taken opportunities to sell out to everyone who wants to work with you, and to hit your brother and sister just because you can do it and you've got support and no one will find out or find out easily. And you've taken all those opportunities to stab back at other people for whatever they've done to you in this life, or because they are stopping your progress or slowing you down or messing with your camp or something like that, hindering you, when sometimes they're not even doing anything wrong. They themselves are teaching from the Torah. But you hate their words, so you fight against them, even with people who hate the God you say you worship, who hate the Creator that you say you worship with this Israelite understanding. And you don't have the substance in your heart that qualifies truth. You don't have it. You just have the word written down. And you know it so well because you've got some of the best Bible software, some of the most expensive Hebrew Bibles and lexicons, but it's not in your heart. It's just in writing, and you've bought all the books, and you've found some of the most rare books that any one of us have ever found. You can dance circles around so many of us, but it's not in your heart. You are just living based on evil, but you just look good to other people. You just look wise to other people. You just look like you have a lot of followers to other people. That's just how you look, but the Most High sees you in a different way, that you are just a hypocrite. So he says the pen of the scribes is in vain, because you say you are wise just because you have the law written down and you've read and studied it for so long. But he's saying the pen of the scribes is in vain because you trust in your knowledge of what is written. You trust in your knowledge of the Torah, but your heart does not have the Torah in it. It's just the memory cells in your brain that lets you remember all that you have studied about the law for years. But your heart, the rooms in your heart, don't have the Torah, just the memory cells in your brain. And that's where it stops. It doesn't flow down from your brain down into your heart. And so because you, like these ancient wise men of our people, trust in just what is written, he tells you there is no salvation for you. In other words, the pen of the scribe that you trust in is in vain. Because in vain you use what is written to gather in more people while you lead them to their own destruction by teaching them lies. In vain you trust in the knowledge of what you have studied about what has been written in the law. You trust in those written words that can be so easily tampered and changed by anyone. It's just words on a book. People can make scrolls and tell you they are ancient scrolls, and they're not. There are people who have been found out for coming up with fake carvings and steles and so on that they're trying to sell and whatever. And so fake scrolls and so on, but you have the knowledge of what the scribes wrote, but your salvation does not come from what is written on pages, but from what is written in your heart. And so your salvation that you think you have, because you trust in what the scribes wrote, it doesn't exist. because you're still going to be cut off if you are not following the Most High properly and loving your people and teaching clearly from a good heart with good intention to show truth. But you manipulate and you twist words and you lie and so on because you know it well enough to twist the words because it's not in your heart. So what the scribes wrote on paper that you feel you've got salvation in because it says wear this garment, wear that garment, wear a long beard or whatever kind of beard and so on. You have all those things. But those things that the scribes penned are in vain because they do not bring you salvation. It's what's in your heart as you trust the Most High and live in sincerity before Him that brings salvation. Don't be just mesmerized by every teacher that is voluminous with words, by every teacher that has a lot of words. They put out the most videos regularly and they've got the finest garments and the most books that they can quote from and so on. That's not where it's at, people. That's not where it's at. Because even the wise men of Israel were taken into captivity and many were destroyed, even though they were the wise men who wrote the book. Because they wrote it but did not trust in the Most High based on what's written. So the word, the knowledge of it was in their head, but the Most High was not in their heart. So the words were vain. They were useless. How do you say you are wise and that the law of the Most High is with you? Certainly, the scribe made it in vain. The pen of the scribes, what was written that you study so much is in vain if it's not in your heart. And so verse 9, the wise men are ashamed, the teachers they're ashamed, that have sold out to evil. They are dismayed and taken. In other words, in time they get destroyed. They get judged. It might not be today, but in time they get destroyed with a judgment that is fitting from the Most High. Why? Because they had the written word, but they rejected the word of the Most High. That's verse 9. They have rejected the word of the Most High and what wisdom is within them. What wisdom, he asked. Why? Because they thought the knowledge of the word that was written, the knowledge of the word that was written was so much more important than having the wisdom of the Most High in their heart. So he said they were dismayed and they were taken, they were cut down, they were destroyed, they were moved out of the way. They were gotten rid of by the Most High because they rejected the word of the Most High. They accepted the books that came in the mail that they ordered, but they rejected the word of the Most High. They pulled in new books, took in new donations, traveled here and there, and sold even Hebrew garments, but they rejected the word of the Most High. They were having the loudest voices and new microphones and whatever else they were doing, but they rejected the word of the Most High. They were teaching the word that was written and quoting it like something that they have written on the back of their hands that you can't remember, but they're quoting scriptures left, right, and center while you got to stop and look it up. But the word that they quoted was different from what was in their heart, because they quoted left, right, and center, but as verse 9 says, they rejected that same word. There is no wisdom in teaching loud and strong, but not being sincere in your heart. That's why, as for me, I'm seeking and searching because something is supposed to come into my heart. I'm looking for the truth. I'm searching, I'm rereading the Bible, I'm going through it again. As I'm looking. I'm tired of people who just want to teach me lies. You should be too. Doesn't mean I'm not going to end up saying something wrong, teaching something wrong. But I'm searching, I'm trying to find it. Because I'm tired of people teaching me lies just because they can do it and get away with it. Just because nobody figures them out quick enough. Just because they have sold out. I'm searching for the Most High. Because it's Him I want to find. I don't want to side with you just because you are a great teacher. I'm looking for the Most High to be in my heart, because that's where wisdom comes from. The Most High getting into your heart. That's why He says in Jeremiah 31, I'm going to put my law in their heart. See Jeremiah 31 verse 33 and 4. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Most High. I will put my law in their inward parts. See, because it was vain the way they had it in Jeremiah 8 verse 8. It was vain because the pen of the scribes was in vain, because they found security in just saying we have the Torah scrolls, or we found the new scrolls, but it just was in their heart. The Most High doesn't give a damn about what you've got written. If He destroyed all of Israel and took us down, that means the most important thing to Him is not how many fresh new scrolls you have copied and recopied and so on, and double checked it carefully with dozens of scribes double checking it. What He cares about is that word written in your heart? You're running all the search for the most ancient scroll and what you already know naturally, even by nature, about how to live properly before the Most High. Like just not taking advantage of your own Hebrew brother or sister. You don't even do that. But you're trying to spend time searching and digging to see if they found a more ancient set of scrolls, so that you can teach another fancy, flashy lesson, but nothing of it is in your heart. But He's saying, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their power. They shall be my people. When it's in your heart, nobody can tamper with that. No scribe can change that and manipulate it. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother. You see that? Because the times of talking about, oh, it's written and I got 50 books here that I read this year and whatever, 50 new books and the most ancient scroll and so on. He's like, listen, nobody is going to teach you when I get through wrapping up this thing how to live, because it's going to be written in your heart. So He's saying what is written, all these ancient scrolls you're looking for, that will take back place to what I'm doing. That's just like so far back, you're not even going to care about that anymore. He says it's going to be written in your heart. And I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. The people the Most High is looking for are the ones who've got the stuff in their heart, not the ones filled with expert head knowledge. I'm going to spend the rest of my days searching and seeking how to get His word in my heart. Because if it's in my heart, I'm not going to look for ways to deceive and trick other people around me. I hope you decide to do that as well.